Welcome to a special episode of the Terrell podcast. This episode is going to be a bit of an experiment. You see, this week I am traveling for a guild event, something that I do within my coaching community. We're doing a pilot program of a retreat that we're looking at doing more of next year. And as a result of the travel, it has messed up my production schedule. And I lost my normal production time that I normally would have. And I have made the commitment to myself that I really don't like missing weeks of the podcast. And so rather than skipping a week, I thought, what is something new I could try? How can I turn this missing my normal production time into an opportunity to try something I've never done before? That's a technique I learned on my weight loss, right? To get results you've never done before, you have to do things you've never done before. And sometimes life gives you lemons and let's make some lemonades, so to speak. Well, I had a program that I was, a 10 habits program that I was looking at creating earlier in the year that for several reasons was never able to fully get off the ground. But during that, I had produced several videos that I'm really proud of that had some really great stuff. And they have just been sitting there in my archives going unused. And I thought, what a great opportunity to release that and get that out here into the world. So here in a second, I'm going to switch over to that old, it's just going to be the audio from the video. And it's going to be 10 things that you need to give up on a weight loss journey. 10 things that you need to give up. Now, these 10 things might not be things that you might typically think of, but these things are all things I had to give up to be successful. And these are things that I see everyone that wants long-term success ultimately ends up eventually giving up as well. And I thought maybe knowing these things might help you as well. So let's go ahead and switch over to that recording. And I hope you get something out of this. And if you find this to be helpful, especially for those of you listening on Spotify, there is an option in the Spotify app where you can give feedback on the episode. And if you found this episode to be beneficial and you liked it, let me know. Maybe I can go back into the archives. I have a lot of content that has never made production, that has otherwise landed on the cutting room floor, that perhaps I could start releasing here on the Terrell podcast, and your feedback would directly go to helping me know if that would be a good idea to do or not. So without further ado, I present to you the 10 things you must give up to be successful with your weight loss journey. When I was younger, I would buy programs, books, not do anything with them. In fact, this book right here is an amazing book, and it was very, very transformative in my life. And yet, as transformative as it was, I'm trying to find the receipt here in it, I didn't do anything with it. Turns out if you just buy a book, don't do anything with it, doesn't work. Turns out if you buy a program, don't do anything with it, it doesn't work. You got to actually do what's in it to get the results. And I want to challenge you to do that with everything I've given you so far. The 10 habits I gave you, I've been using them for a while. They work. I've been teaching them to others for a while. They work. Will you need to do more on top of the 10 habits? Of course you will. Of course you will. But beyond the 10 habits, it starts to really vary a lot. These are the things that you need to do, the things that everybody needs to be doing. Now, in this last video, in this series, I wanted to tell you about the things that you're going to have to give up. We all know this. Every weight loss journey requires you to give something up. And this one's going to be no different. And let's just get it out in the open. Let's just talk about it, what it is. And that way you can begin to go work up your plan for how you're going to give these things up. The first thing you're going to have to give up is feeling bad about eating food. You might be one of those individuals that feels guilt when you eat certain foods, feeling like you shouldn't be having it, that there's something wrong, that this is something only fat people eat. That's what I would say to myself. But that's no good. You've got to look at food as just food, and it's okay to eat it. And there's nothing wrong with eating food. If you beat yourself up for having food, you're going to create this forbidden fruit sort of thing with the food. That's not a recipe for success, because we're like wired to go after the things that we're not supposed to have. Come on, you know that. The second thing you're going to have to give up is morally judging food. This one directly comes off of the first one, but you've got to stop looking at food as good and as bad. All food is fine. There is no good food. There is no bad food. There is just food. Now, food is not fuel. Food is fuel, but food really is a tool. Food is a tool designed to meet the needs of your body at the time, and you need to bring the right tool to the job. And so stop looking at food as good and bad and just start looking at it instead of, is this the right food that I could use right now? And honestly, any food is fine because for the most part, it's just energy. Now, later on in my programs, I can talk you through some of the other things you might need to pay attention to because yes, do things like protein matter? Yes, it does. Does fiber matter? Yes, it does. Do you need to pay attention to fats? A little bit, but not a ton. You need to pay attention to several things. However, those can come later. You don't need to do those right now, okay? Here's the big thing about weight loss. Bonus one. This isn't on the list, but it just came to me. You need to stop trying to take shortcuts and stop trying to cut out the basic stuff and jump to the more advanced things. You know, some of you may be like, well, I want to track my calories and macros. It's like, great. Can you only eat when you're hungry and stop when you've had enough and you're walking 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day and you get to sleep? No. Okay, why don't you get those done first and then jump to the other stuff? All right, number 3, after that little tangent there. You need to stop. You need to give up thinking that food talks to you. Food does not talk to you. If your food is actually talking to you, you need to see a special kind of doctor, okay? Come on. Food isn't talking. What is talking to you is your thoughts, the thoughts in your head. You may have to give up some of the narratives that you hold around food. You may have to actually start talking differently about some foods and about some situations. You may have to give that up. You know, stop talking about it like, oh, I can't just have one. If I have one, I'm just going to have the whole bag. You may have to give that up because it's not true. You can have one. You might not want to have one, but you're perfectly capable of it. But you're going to have to give up that dialogue in many cases. Food is not calling you. You are calling you to the food. Number 4, you have to give up expecting yourself to never be stressed or tired. Because you're going to. You're going to be stressed and you're going to be tired. It is going to happen and it is going to happen often in life. So your weight loss strategy needs to incorporate that fact. What we can't have happening is every time you're stressed, tired, or angry, or grumpy, or defiant, that you give up on yourself and go harm your body more. That's not a recipe for getting what you want. We need to have you going a different direction with that stuff. All right. Number 5. You're going to need to give up beating yourself up anytime you make a mistake. I know some of you watching, it might even be you, suffer from perfectionism. Okay? You think perfectionism is a thing. By the way, you can change that. You are not forever a perfectionist. You could change that. But right now, you might be under the spell of perfectionism, and you might be under the illusion that you are capable of not making mistakes. It's just an illusion. You will make mistakes, many mistakes. All of us do. It's like about as a human a thing as it gets, and you're not the special one that is immune from mistakes, and you also don't deserve to beat yourself up for it. You're no worse than any of us. You're just like the rest of us. And it's okay to forgive yourself when you make a mistake and ask yourself to do better next time and let yourself off the hook. Now, number 6, the 6th thing you're going to have to give up is stinking thinking. That's something my dad taught me. He always called it. You got to stop that stinking thinking. But that's where you're just being a jerk to yourself. You're saying bad things. You're looking at the negative. You're always focusing on how things aren't going to work. And you're just doomsdaying and ruminating and you're going down rabbit holes and spiraling every thought down into oblivion, getting yourself all worked up into a tizzy till you quit. You're going to have to give that up. Now, look, some of y'all, unfortunately, you're addicted to stinking thinking because it actually, weirdly, is kind of a good feeling to do. And it'll trigger a lot of emotions. You're going to have to work to let it go. You're going to have to give that up. But it's okay. You'll be able to do it. I know you will. Number 7, the 7th thing you're going to have to give up and just stop. You can't have it in your life anymore. And that is downplaying progress. You have to stop saying things like, I only lost 1 pound. I should have done more of this. I shouldn't have done that. This mile that I did, gosh, it was only 19 minutes. It should have been less. Comparison is the thief of joy. Always remember that. So first off, don't ever compare yourself to others. And so when you're downplaying your progress, somebody else's success is irrelevant to you. And second, focus on your wins. That's your ego talking when you won't let yourself have wins. Let yourself have your teeny tiny wins. Set up the game where you're going to win and then give yourself a pat on the back when you win the game that you set up for yourself. It's okay to set yourself up for success. You're going to have to give up setting yourself up for failure. Give yourself the small wins and take them. Number 8. Ooh, here's a big one. You're going to have to give up avoiding your problems. Now, this only applies if you're an emotional eater. And now, if you're not sure you're an emotional eater, I have a course on that you can go through and it'll help you determine if you're an emotional eater. But if you eat your feelings, the reason why you're eating your feelings is because something is compelling you to go there. Problems in life. You're going to need to start turning and facing your problems and dealing with and addressing the problems in your life. Some of them are going to be scary. Some of them are going to be hard. Some of them are going to take time. Like one of mine is I had to change a job. It took me a long time to make that happen. I had to move. I had to actually, after I changed a job, I ended up realizing I had to change a career. All right. You're gonna find that there's a lot of things you might have to change in your life. I'm not saying you got to change your job or career. That was my journey. That was my path I had to walk. But if there are things in your life, changes that have been needing to be made for many years, it may be time to give up thinking that doing nothing is going to somehow make it better. Because if doing nothing was going to work, it probably should have worked by now, right? Now, number 9, you're going to have to give up quitting every time you make a mistake. See the earlier one. What was that one? Mistakes. Number 5, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I have made more mistakes in my life than I could possibly even remember. I have forgotten about more of the mistakes than I remember. And there are so many more that I'm sure I'm going to make in life. All right. You can't quit when you make a mistake. Quitting is how you make sure you never get what you want, is how you make sure you never get there. Don't quit. Always keep going. Get back up the next day, the next meal if you can. Just keep going whenever you make a mistake. And the last thing you got to give up, number 10, is you got to give up thinking that quitting solves anything. Quitting this isn't going to solve it. Your weight loss goals will not be met by you quitting. So what I want you to do is to set the goal, to set the intention for yourself that you're going to do the 10 habits. You're going to go for the 10 habits and incorporate them into your life. And I want you to decide if you'd like, as you go along, to add things to the top of it to encourage your weight loss to happen at a more consistent 1 to 2 pound a week rate. And I think there would be nothing wrong with that. Now, as you're gone through this and you're realizing, hey, this is great. I'm loving all this, but I'm still struggling. I've done other diets before, Chris, and I tend to not do the things that I said I was going to do. I want to help you. So here's what you do from here, because everything I have given you so far is just a starting point. You've got to go to the next steps. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get yourself indoctrinated into a new way of thinking about yourself. You've got to begin to look at yourself in a positive way. You got to begin looking at weight loss in an entirely different paradigm. And you have 2 different ways that I'd like to help you do that. The first one, if you haven't already done so, is to listen to my podcast. So if you're not listening to the podcast, go to any podcasting app and type in the Chris Terrell Podcast. And in there, you can begin listening to my episodes. They are not in order. You can listen to them in any order you like. Bounce around, find a topic that looks good, but do your best to listen to them because it is nothing but weight loss designed to help you stay motivated on your journey. Now, if you are also, though, someone that is like, okay, Chris, I want to do all these things, but I get in my way a lot, and I'm sure I could figure this out, but I'd like to figure this out a little bit sooner, and I sure would like to talk to some other people that are going through this and maybe even have some access to you, me, to help. Well, if you would like to work with me, if you would like for me to help you get your weight loss goals, I would like to invite you to come join the Guild. Now, I call it the Guild of Champions because you're a champion. I never felt more like a badass and a champion than when I was working on my weight loss. It was a tough, scary thing to do. It was hard. It took a long time. And I had to learn a lot of things about myself. And one of the things, though, in that is I discovered the importance and value of community. I discovered the importance and value of having a constant access to information about my goal, about losing weight. So in the Guild, I have over 100 hours of content ready to go for you, all searchable, all around weight loss. I have dedicated courses. Let's say you're trying to find your why. Why are you trying to lose weight? It's an important thing. We haven't even had a chance to talk about it yet. you're going to want to go to my Finding Your Why course. Maybe you struggle with emotional eating, and that's been something that's really been getting the better of you. You're like, I know I can do the habits, Chris, but I got to get this emotional eating under control. I want you to come into the guild and take my emotional eating course. We do challenges in there. We do meetups in the real world and virtual. As an example, at the time of recording this, I'm going to be going to Chicago in a month, and I'm going to Seattle a couple of months after that to meet with champions from the guild live to go run a race together. I would love to have you come be a part of this community of fellow champions who are striving to lose weight and support each other. I believe the weight loss should be accessible and affordable, and so I have this priced at $40 a month. There is no joining fees of any kind, no contracts. You can cancel at any time and come get that next level support to take you to the next level on your weight loss journey. Now, I'd love to see you over there, and if you're interested in that, I've got a button down below. You can click on that. It's going to take you to the guild landing page with a lot more information, and you can find out more about what it is, and I'd love to come see you in there. All right, go execute the 10 habits. Start with phase 1, and if after that, if you'd like to learn more and take it on to phase 2, 3, and beyond, come on over to the guild. See you there. Have a great time. That's an annoying ending.